Self-driving truck startup embarking on a new chapter in the company's 5-year history, announcing a $5.2 billion SPAC deal. For more on the announcement, let's bring in Alex Rodrigues, Embark co-founder and CEO. Alex, good to have you back on the show again. You know, a lot of investors looking at this saying, well, we've already got Plus and TuSimple coming to the markets in a similar way. What's your pitch to investors about why they should put their money behind Embark?
Yeah, I think Embark is a really different story. I mean, if I had to pick a couple of things, obviously, as a company that's solely focused on the American market, Embark sits as maybe the Cisco to the Plus and TuSimple's Huawei, and we think that's a better position. As a software player that's not trying to develop a whole truck, but instead partnering with some of those leading players, we think what we have is a lot more scalable. And this is ultimately, people sort of remember the order that companies told the story to the public market. But if you look at the order that people have been working on this problem, Embark's been at this a lot longer than our competition. And I think that reflects in how mature the company and the technology actually is.
Yeah, which is pretty wild, given, you're just 25 years old, and this is a big deal here. But, they say it doesn't. You don't need to be an old guy to make some pretty big moves here. And when you look at it, this deal is going to give you about $615 in cash proceeds in the deal. So, I mean, when you talk about building out what Embark's working on, how big of a boost is that, and where's the money going to go here?
Yeah, $615 million. It was 615. It wouldn't be a very good SPAC deal. But no, we're really excited about it. We see this funding Embark all the way through to commercialization of the technology. It's one of the reasons that I was excited to pursue this path for the company, because it gives us the ability to have all the money we need to execute in the bank and to be able to really focus on taking the working technology we have today and turning it into a commercial product that our carrier partners can be rolling out in their fleets in 2024.
When you talk about commercialization of the product, what's the timeline right now, and how big is that market that you see?
Yeah, this is an absolutely massive market. It's $700 billion a year is what companies spend moving freight. And when you look at the impact, it's really impacting almost every industry, because trucking is just a key input. And so when we look at the potential impact that this has across the economy, actually, the Department of Transportation did a study earlier this year that estimated self-driving trucks will lead to an average wage increase for every American worker of $200 per year. And so this is a huge impact, not just in the trucking industry, but everywhere else. And we expect the first scale deployments of this to be happening in 2024.
Yeah, the comparison to the other companies working on it too, with their, attachment to China, is interesting, because you also added former Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao to your guys' board. And increasingly, when we're dealing with technologies like this, we've seen a lot of companies come out and saying, look, we don't want to deal with China. We're never going to deal with China. We don't want our technology to be used or perhaps maybe even potentially stolen over there. So when you're talking about your positioning at Embark kind of being not that, how important is that when it comes to maybe the security concerns around what you guys are working on, and how it could benefit the company if you were to say, we're going to distinguish ourselves by not working with China potentially?
Yeah, I think something that perhaps isn't obvious to people is that this is an industry with huge national security implications, right? We're talking about literally almost everything from food to fuel to durable goods. Everything's moving on a truck. And all of the data about where all of the goods are moving and where they're coming from and to, that's all being captured by trucking companies. And so it's definitely a critical industry. And while I don't think we're going to rule out potential avenues down the road, we do believe that by being a U.S. company and focusing on the U.S. market, that's something that's going to serve us well.
Alex, obviously you're still in the process of trying to scale up things and really build out your technology, but we've seen a lot of traditional car makers sort of flag concerns around supply chains and not being able to meet the deadlines that they've set out. What does that look like for you, and how big of a headwind has that been?
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of an impact, certainly on the chip side, and that's partly because of Embark's focus on software. And so our focus has really been on developing leading software platform, and we haven't seen that at least yet impacting our ability to test the trucks, to move freight for our customers today.
Okay, Alex Rodrigues, good to have you back on again today. Embark co-founder and CEO.